Welcome to Pop-O-Holics, the show about hot takes other than hot, tasty pancakes. Welcome to a special San Diego Comic-Con edition. I'm your host, Christian, and I'm joined by my two best friends.
Chris Conkling.
And Brian Dupree.
Oh, off to a good start. Already the videos were switched out a bit, but we'll fix it.
It wouldn't be Pop-O-Holics if stuff like that wasn't happening. It's part of the charm of the show. So
yeah, absolutely. Janky. But I got some jokes up my sleeve. So what is this show you've dropped onto? Well, this is our weekly upload. And normally what we do is Brian delivers the news. We talk about what we've been consuming this week in pop culture, talk about what's coming out, do some community feedback. It's a light and breezy affair, but we're getting ultra serious today. We're devoting the entire thing. We've stayed up to the wee hours on, what day is it, God? Saturday night.
Saturday of this recording, yeah.
Yeah, Marvel's panel just wrapped. We are covering 2 days of Comic-Con greatness news, as it is important. So we're really excited to get into it. Chris, how excited are you?
I'm pretty excited, dude. You know, you could play the jingle if you want to, because that's how excited I am. But I was telling you guys earlier that with, Comic-Con being in person this year, it really does feel like a return to normalcy. I myself didn't get to be at the convention, but still seeing all the announcements online feels good. If I'm being honest, feels like pre-pandemic. So Brian, I am excited.
What about you, buddy?
Dude.
This event in itself, Chris, you noted in the show notes, I think this sold out at some point this weekend. It
capped out at 135,000 attendees, which is about half of what it was prior to the pandemic, but it's still sold out, which is astounding.
Okay, yeah. It just kind of conceptually still freaks me out. The idea of an event this giant, even though I would love to attend Comic-Con at some point, definitely going to make that happen. But yeah. With all the news coming out here, definitely tons to get into and excited to discuss it with you guys.
There is a ton to get into. I will say that I'm going to try to be super posy. I myself am a bit cynical about giant press events for very large mega corporations, but I think there's some definitely stuff that I'm excited about, some surprises for me. So it's going to be a fun section. And Brian, we're taking the reins off the news because Chris is our go-to, as is the Cap Shield. He is our go-to correspondent for all things Comic-Con. And for that, I reveal to you Chris's chaotic Comic-Con theme. Made that in 15 minutes for you, Chris.
Bro, I'm flabbergasted. That was rad as fuck.
Metal. Absolutely.
That was so fucking metal, bro. Thank you for that.
Wow.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Welcome to Chris's chaotic Comic-Con coverage. As you can hear from that jingle, it's already getting a little chaotic. Christian, I'm going to listen to that over and over again when we're done recording. Loyal viewers and listeners, we here at Pop-O-Holics, I dedicated a ton of time to trying to keep track of everything that was being covered over the last couple of days at San Diego Comic-Con. However, we are mere mortal men. We cannot cover everything. So in the description down below and in our show notes, we have a fantastic link to IGN, who has composed basically a huge article that comprises everything that has been released over the weekend. We're, over the next episode, are going to talk about some of our favorite things or some of the most noteworthy things that we thought came out over the last 2 days. So why don't we get started? Because we got a lot to cover. We're going to kick it off with Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves got its first trailer, and this movie stars Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez, and Regé-Jean Page, Justice Smith, Sophia Lillis, and Hugh Grant. And basically, this is going to be a Dungeons and Dragons movie. There's a party comprised of all the actors that I just listed, and it looks to be a lot of fun. There are a ton of fun Dungeons and Dragons references within this trailer. Christian and I have played Dungeons and Dragons in the past. Brian, I don't believe you have, right? I've been trying to get you to play for many years at this point, but we haven't made it happen. Gentlemen, you both watched the trailer. How do you feel about what you saw?
Yeah, as you said, I'm kind of the least familiar with Dungeons and Dragons. One of my good friends that is a coworker of mine actually plays Dungeons and Dragons as well as Warhammer 40K, I think, is another one that he's into. So he kind of keeps me in the loop on his campaign. So I'm relatively familiar. I think this trailer looks like a lot of fun, and conceptually this idea of these kind of maybe what you'd think of as innocuous quests that you're doing may come back to haunt you because you helped the wrong person and, all the implications of that. I think they seem to be playing with the idea of DMs as well, and storytelling, and how it's constantly shifting and changing, and even saying, let's talk it over a beer. And this just seems like something that's kind of like,
let's go to the tavern. Yeah.
Meta commentary about like how these things happen functionally. So, and I thought it looked really solid as well. Like the effects looked solid here. Some big shots of some big action, and yeah, looks like a solid cast as well. So I'm looking forward to this movie, actually.
Awesome. Christian, what are your thoughts on Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves?
It's got real Guardians vibes, you know. It's so interesting. We're going to be talking about the Lord of the Rings Amazon show, and it's crazy because they're both Middle Earth adventure stories, right? But one is trying to be much like its predecessor, much like the original books, and this is trying to be, Guardians in Middle Earth with Dungeons and Dragons themed stuff. It's super interesting, but also like we've done campaigns. Dungeons and Dragons, I would say, like, it has notable monsters for fans, and it has like a notable lore, but part of it is, it's a tad like generic Middle Earth. There's a tad bit of it. Even though it did start, comes before a lot of Middle Earth fantasy stuff. It comes after Lord of the Rings, and it comes after a lot of other stuff. So yeah, I think they're leaning into the fun of what D&D can be, like the essence of what playing a campaign is like. And that's going to be crucial to this tone working. I will say I'm more impressed with the visuals from this than I am Lord of the Rings. Because the camera has like JJ but controlled a little bit. Like there's such great movement. I hope it's not like overly chaotic, like maybe like the worst of where Star Trek went. I mean, Chris Pine is in it, so I think that's what that with like sideways cameras going places is like Star Trek's coming back to me. But I do think that visually it is actually interesting for being such well-trodden territory. So I'm hopeful. It looks like just a ton of fun at the movie theater. So I actually was not expecting for much. I do like a lot of the cast, but I was surprised at how intriguing this looked.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. This movie looks like a complete blast. And I mean, Christian and I have a ton of fun stories we could regale you with of the campaigns that we've played in the past where like just insane shit is happening. It's totally ridiculous. But I love in the trailer how we get to see a mimic, which is a very popular Dungeons and Dragons monster. We see a gelatinous cube at one moment, which is really funny. I think
Owlbear.
An owlbear. Oh my God, we see an owlbear. Brian, thank you so much. I think the cast that they've assembled here is going to play off of one another really well. Like one of the most fun things about playing Dungeons and Dragons is getting your friends together and having different personalities kind of clash with each other as you're going through the campaign and going through the adventure. And I really think they, at least from the trailer, it seems like they've been able to capture those dynamics really well with the cast that they've assembled. So yeah, I agree with you guys. I think it is going to be kind of like a Guardians-esque type of movie. But I wasn't super excited about this movie, but now I think the trailer did its job. It seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to stay in the fantasy realm, as Christian alluded to here, and we're going to move on. The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, the new Amazon Prime show that's coming out here, got its final trailer. And finally, we, at least in my opinion, are seeing the budget on display. This finally feels like a movie quality trailer. We've talked about this show multiple times here on the podcast. Maybe over a year ago, we talked about how this is going to end up being one of the most expensive television shows of all time. Just to give you an idea, the first season alone had a budget of $462 million, which is more money than it took to make the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, the original trilogy that Peter Jackson made, which is just
absurd
insane.
Amounts of money.
Absolutely insane. By the time this show's done, analysts have said that I think it will be over $1 billion total in terms of like what the show cost to make. So this trailer gave me a little more hope in terms of narrative. The story's taking place in the Second Age of Middle Earth, which is kind of what Galadriel is talking about. She's talking about the end of the Second Age at the beginning of the Lord of the Rings movies. So it's going to cover, Sauron's rise to power. It's going to cover the forging of the Rings of Power. A lot of things that were mentioned in Lord of the Rings, but we haven't seen with our own eyes. So I'm hopeful that the show is going to be fun, especially for Tolkien fans. But Brian, now that we've seen this trailer, how do you feel about it, the show?
I feel like
is an apology in order.
I think an apology is in order. I talked a decent amount of shit about the trailer that we saw. I think it was during the Super Bowl, the teaser.
It was very short. Yeah.
Or I can't remember what it was during, but yeah, that teaser that dropped, I was not impressed with at all. And as you said, I think there's much more money clearly on display here. It remains to be seen for me if it's going to stand up to the Peter Jackson stuff. Obviously a really high bar there. The budget is astronomical. I don't know if
Peter Jackson historically could not outdo Peter Jackson.
Yeah, fair.
True.
So let's not set it to that bar. But I thought the far-reaching nature of this trailer, we saw all different sorts of people within this world. I think the lore is obviously there, and seeing the rise of Sauron is going to be very conceptually interesting as well, seeing that play out. I was not at all excited, and now this is something that I'll definitely be checking out when it premieres.
Christian, how are you feeling about Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power at this point?
Absolutely nothing. I'm glad they spent all this money. And, they've got a really big, talented, diverse cast with a lot of actors we've never heard of. So there's a lot of potential here. I am a huge fan of the original Lord of the Rings. I actually can't wait to grab it on a 4K Blu-ray set. I've heard that's pretty good. The later transfer or the later release that they did. So
I'm most recent one, very good.
I'm very excited to revisit that once there's like a sale on it. And I'm more excited to do that than I am about this show, but I'm definitely going to check it out. It just looks very much, it's like reading the first chapter of Lord of the Rings. If anybody's done this before, you read the first chapter of Lord of the Rings and you're like, that's like all that I feel when I'm thinking about,
you don't have like a new affinity for the types of grass that cover the Shire after reading the first chapter of Lord of the Rings?
No, I don't. So that's all personal. I'm a blank slate for this, for better and for worse. You said it looks like a lot of fun. I would not describe anything as fun, and not everything has to be fun.
I said it looks like it's going to be fun for Tolkien fans who like nom 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 eat up all this lore and stuff.
Sure, a good clarification. Yes.
It's going to be dark and sad.
Tight. So excited. Can't wait. It's gonna be really great. But yeah, no, it doesn't look bad. It looks exciting for Tolkien fans.
What about was it the Balrog?
The Balrog stinger at the end.
Yes,
very cool.
Exactly.
And it looks a lot like the Balrog from Peter Jackson's films.
Yeah, it looks almost identical. Well, because he described it so well. There's no room for interpretation with Tolkien's descriptions.
There it
I
is.
haven't, that's was one of my main questions going into this show, is that are they trying to make this show uniform with what Peter Jackson has already presented to us in regards to like what Middle Earth looks like? I personally don't think anybody could adapt Middle Earth better than what Peter Jackson's done. So I think it would be in like their best interest to make it look as similar as possible. But I haven't really dug into the production or like what the creators' mentalities are.
I did a little bit. Yet, they wanted to be kind of similar, but also kind of different. So they actually filmed most of it in Old Zealand.
Very nice.
Takes place before.
Perfect. Yes.
And that's the Twitter clip for this week. All right, moving on here. We're going to shift genres and get into, one of the boys' favorite topics of discussion here on the podcast.
Violence. Incessant,
actually,
unrelenting violence.
I'm breaking it up. I'm going to go in order of how things were announced during the con. Okay. So next up is the Marvel Studios animation panel. There might be some violence. There is one particular project in here that we're going to talk about that is probably going to have a lot of gore and a lot of violence. But there was a lot of stuff announced over the course of the Marvel Studios animation panel. I would say that the theme of this panel is Marvel Studios is exceptionally confident in all of their animated shows because almost every single one of these projects, if not every single one of these projects, has already been greenlit for a second or third season.
Very strange. It's hard to believe that.
Animation takes a long time to make. So if they are planning on going forward with a lot of these shows, they have to start making it now. So I can see why the studio's like, even though it hasn't been released, we got to greenlight it.
Chris, when you're sitting on a name like sophomore year, you can't keep that under wraps.
Exactly,
you got to get that gold out there.
You get it. So Brian's teasing a little bit of what was announced at this panel. The first thing that Marvel Studios announced during the animation panel was the I Am Groot series that's coming to Disney Plus on August 10th. This is something we already knew was coming out. It's going to be comprised of 5 short films, length to be determined. They really haven't given any clue as to how long each of these is going to be. But as I mentioned, it has been greenlit for a season 2, and they dropped a trailer. Were you guys able to watch the trailer for I Am Groot?
Yeah, and judging by the trailer, these episodes are going to be 11 minutes long.
They must be, right? They have to be short. It looks like a kid's show, basically, which I'm fine with. It's what it's supposed to be.
Well, not only that, but the animation quality is fairly good. It looks fairly good, which leads me to believe that these episodes are going to be fairly short. If I know their quality I don't think they threw the whole kitchen sink at the I Am Groot series.
Right.
It has half the budget of the Lord of the Rings prequel series.
$250 million for I Am Groot. I'm just tossing that number out. That's not the actual number. That's been like the general budget for most of these MCU shows on Disney Plus. But I would be interested to see what this budget is, considering, like Christian said, the animation quality is very good. Baby Groot does look like he does in the Guardians films.
Yeah. And I think he looks better because everything's animated. There's kind of a cohesion that doesn't exist. You get this disjointed CGI with real people that I think mostly looks like ass in the MCU. I'm on record, and I will still say it, with the exception of some of their higher budget stuff and certain set pieces, the majority of the MCU looks like ass for various reasons I won't go into. But
ouch.
Here's what I'll say.
There it is.
I like the writing constraints of this character because it forces you to write a visual story.
Right.
He can't say anything, but I am Groot. So I do love the challenge. I think it is a good constraint to fit in with like a TV show. This leads me to believe that things will happen and Groot will go through stuff that is visually interesting. So
one would hope that our main character would experience some stuff in any type of series.
He'll go through a thing or two.
Will be I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. Or I'm Groot. Remains to be seen.
Brian, what do you think about this trailer?
So I actually didn't get to see the trailer for this one, but I conceptually really enjoy these sorts of projects. On Disney Plus, they have a lot of these sort of things that are either geared towards children or kind of just like ambient things that you could just throw on. And I like that they're experimenting with the form here, since they're going straight to Disney Plus, and they have the freedom to do these kind of 11-minute kind of shows and just, 5 to 15-minute short films that they highlight as well. So I'm very much here for all of this sort of content for sure.
It's going to be fun, I think. And, from what I've heard, they showed the first episode during the panel at the end of it. And the consensus is that it's adorable as fuck, basically. Direct quote. So it'll be fun for kids and for those that like Baby Groot. The next couple of things that we're going to talk about from the Marvel Studios animation panel, I'm going to list because there were photos released during the panel. If you go to carefulforspoilers.com or their Twitter, you can find a lot of those photos. I'm sure IGN in the article also will have some of those photos linked, but I don't believe we have them here. So the next project that they talked about during the animation panel was Spider-Man Freshman Year, and this is going to be a series coming to Disney Plus in 2024. And the series follows Peter becoming Spider-Man in the MCU, starting with his freshman year of high school, not college. And of course, like I mentioned, it's already been greenlit for a second season, obviously dubbed Spider-Man Sophomore Year, as Brian alluded to earlier.
Speaking of dubbed, they did not confirm Tom Holland as the voice?
Not yet, but they have confirmed that Charlie Cox is going to be playing Daredevil in the show.
Interesting announcement for your Spider-Man reveal.
In Marvel's What If, which is a show that we're going to talk about here in a moment, when they had Tom Holland or Peter Parker in the Zombies episode, he wasn't voiced by Tom Holland, but a very good sound alike. So I would assume that maybe they grabbed the same person to voice him. It would be cool if they got Tom Holland to voice Peter Parker, but he's off doing a bunch of other stuff. I think it is
worth a strange way to announce that. You're like, and the Iron Man TV show, and we've got Jeff Bridges returning as
Obadiah Stane.
So tune in. You're like,
and they literally just within the last month-ish have announced both Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio in Echo as well.
Yeah.
So these guys are already they've already made announcements about them. They're just kind of tacking it on here. It's a strange one.
Really well in the movie. The internet loves.
Everyone loved it.
He did.
Yeah.
He did play really well. Everybody loves that Daredevil Netflix show too.
I love Charlie Cox.
I will say one thing to note about this show is initially when they told us this was coming out, I believe during Disney Plus Day, maybe a year and a half ago, it was presented as a prequel for our main universe Peter Parker in the MCU, the 616 Peter Parker. However, with all the characters that they've announced for the show, all the villains that he's going to be encountering during the show, this is definitely going to be an alternate universe Peter Parker, which I find to be a little disappointing. But I have to say, the art style that they're going for is like a 1960s original Spider-Man comic art style. I find it to be very charming, and I'm excited to see how it moves within the show as well. So I am still very interested in what the show has to offer.
I actually love that it's separate from the canon, personally, Chris.
I mean, it is going to free up. They aren't going to be beholden to anything for that main Peter Parker. So there are benefits to doing that. I definitely see where you're coming from. Next up, they announced season 2 of What If. We already knew this was coming. This is going to be coming to Disney Plus in 2023. And just like everything else, it was confirmed for a season 3 as well. What If Marvel Studios What If season 3 is coming out.
They also said, what if there was a spin-off series?
Yes. What if there was a spin-off series, Brian?
What if?
And
Season
what if
1.
that spin-off series was called Marvel Zombies and it was coming to Disney Plus in 2024? What would you guys say about that?
I'd say that's a spin-off of a spin-off of a spin-off. Now, is this the Marvel's Zombies that inspired Stan Lee to write, the Marvel comic books, like in canon? Like this is the the show that he watched.
Deep down the canon rabbit hole here.
Yes.
No, Christian, it's actually way more simple. This Marvel Zombies is a spin-off of the Marvel Zombies episode of Marvel Studios' What If. That was a very popular episode in that series. That was inspired by the comics written by Robert Kirkman from like the early 2000s.
And so this is going to be kind of an adaptation of the comic, right? Or is it separate?
It's going to be separate. It's still based in the MCU. So it's pretty much like what if Marvel Zombies happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not necessarily the comic book universe. But I think the most interesting piece of information about this announcement is that it's going to be rated TVMA, which I am super excited about. This is a zombie show. There should be blood. There should be guts. There should be gore. And I'm happy to see that Marvel Studios isn't shying away from the genre that this represents. They had to cover their tracks a little bit during that What If episode, but I think with the popularity of that episode, and they recently released Logan, they recently released Deadpool and Deadpool 2 on Disney Plus. So they're trying to kind of get audiences to become more comfortable with more mature content being available on Disney Plus. So I think this is fun. And then finally, in the Marvel Studios animation panel, they announced when X-Men 97 is coming out. It's coming out to Disney Plus.
Is that the name of the show? When X-Men 97?
Yep, that's the whole name of the show. The show is called X-Men 97, and it's coming to Disney Plus in the fall of 2023. And I sound like a broken record now because guess what? Can you guys guess? It was greenlit for a season 2.
There
it hasn't even come out yet.
X-Men 98.
X-Men.
Can't wait.
Dude, if they call it X-Men 98, that would be fucking fantastic.
I'm just waiting for them to buy EA so they can release Madden 98.
Out of all the things that have been released in this panel, are there any that like really stick out to you? Are you fans of that old X-Men cartoon from when we were kids? Like, are you excited for the continuation of that?
I think we've talked about it before. I'm not necessarily a fan of the cartoon, but I'm a fan of the arcade game and the character designs. So seeing my dude Nightcrawler and Gambit in this style from this show just brought the memories flooded back. And I'm very interested to see them bringing this forward from a show that I don't think is particularly acclaimed looking back. So I'm hoping they can bring it into something that is maybe a step above in terms of quality. And
it's acclaimed in the hearts
design
of 90s nerds, Brian.
It's got the quality, right? It's got the writing quality of G.I. Joe's, basically. It's very Saturday morning cartoon. It's almost unwatchable. I mean, I tried to go back and rewatch some of the older ones, and it's not good. I mean, the animation's terrible, and it's not a great show by any metric other than Year 7 and Wolverine looks cool. But I gotta say, X-Men's really important, and you can feel this from the fans that really want X-Men in the MCU, because X-Men and Spider-Man are kind of the Blade, X-Men, and Spider-Man are kind of what began the early 2000s comic book modern movie. So X-Men's really important to people, and I certainly X-Men with the game cabinet that was at the Chuck E. Cheese that me and Brian are very familiar with, as well as the X-Men Fox movies and the show. Like, X-Men was one of the first comic book kind of characters that I interacted with. So it should be really cool. Nostalgia. Where's that nostalgia? Give it to me. I need some.
Inject it right into the veins. There you go. Yeah, my wife loves this X-Men cartoon from when she was a kid. She has fond memories of watching it with her cousins. So needless to say, we're both very excited to see what they do here. And based on what they announced during the panel, it seems as though it's going to be picking up right where the original series left off. Xavier's absent. He's off planet, and Magneto is now leading the X-Men. So I think there are a lot of really cool things they can do if they go and plan on adapting some really popular X-Men runs from the late 80s, early 90s.
And good news, Charlie Cox will be voicing Daredevil.
In every MCU project going forward, Charlie Cox will be either portraying or voicing Daredevil.
He's free.
He just really likes being Matt Murdock.
He's available.
Doesn't want to do anything else.
Charlie Cox is the most available member of the Marvel Cinematic cast we have.
Oh, you say that, and we have more projects that aren't called Daredevil that will have Daredevil in them. Yeah. So can't wait to get to those.
The agent locked that contract in for several seasons.
Charlie, we've heard that you really enjoyed playing Matt Murdock in the Netflix show. And we want to make sure that you never play anyone else ever again. So we're more than happy to welcome you back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, you're going to be in every Marvel project going forward. Is that okay with you? Just sign on the dotted line.
I think his pre-announcements, like we've always talked about, Wolverine, like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, one of the most represented, like in a person to portray in a movie series ever. And Charlie Cox with all these announcements has beat everybody.
Agreed.
Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. He's covered.
So we're going to leave Marvel behind for a little bit, and we're going to go into something that the two of you, I think, are very excited
for. The men.
Yeah.
For the men
this
in the
is
room.
For the men. And that is John Wick Chapter 4. We finally got a teaser for the movie. John Wick Chapter 4 is starring Keanu Reeves, obviously, Lawrence Fishburne, Ian McShane, Lance Reddick, Rina Shawayama. Did I pronounce that correctly? Brian, do you know?
Not sure. Sorry.
All right. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Donnie Yen, Shamir Anderson, Bill Skarsgård, Hiroyuki Sanada, Scott Atkins, and Clancy Brown. This is a crazy cast. Gentlemen, I'm going to take a back seat here for this conversation because, as you know, I've never seen a John Wick film, and I'm excited for this to come out because I feel like we're going to do a John Wick month. I'm very excited for that. But, Christian, I'm going to start with you. You watched the teaser. How are you feeling about John Wick Chapter 4? We have some dogs. There's some dogs attacking people in the trailer. I know that.
That's the thing about these movies. So I recently got the John Wick Chapter 1 through 3 4K Blu-ray set, which I'm not going to recommend you buy. You can get it on Blu-ray. I think that'll do you justice. It's not a great presentation as a whole. And honestly, you should not watch all these movies in a row. By John Wick Chapter 3, you're like, all right, I think I can take a break from Keanu Reeves punching people in the face. However, as like you go see one every few months and like you check in on it, I have to say the John Wick series is one of the coolest, best like American action choreographed gung fu kind of thing going on. And Chapter 3 just gets silly. It gets ridiculous in the best way possible. And they keep up in their game, right? So in Chapter 2, they added like a lot more melee weapons. In Chapter 3, they added dogs and horses. Okay.
In 2, iconic scene in a mall where there's a shootout happening. No one can tell it's happening. It's completely absurd in the most perfect way.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this one, they're like, we got bow and arrows, and we're bringing back the dogs. We're bringing back the swords.
Swords. Yes.
Yeah. Who's doing his like Ip Man thing.
Donnie Yen.
Oh my God.
It looks awesome.
It's going to
I will say that.
It's for people who like are big fan, and I'm not like a super fan of the choreographed martial arts stuff. I'm a huge fan of The Matrix, so Keanu Reeves fan, John Wick, and then Jackie Chan stuff and like all this, Hong Kong John Woo stuff. But I'm not like a super fan. But I have to say, from a Western representation, this is one of the best like action choreographed thing in the biz here. So I'm very excited about this. These movies are a ton of fun. There's ultra violent. They're super gritty, but they're super ridiculous. There's actually great lore that I think people don't talk enough about. Like the lore is really cool in this and where John Wick leaves off in Chapter 3 Parabellum. I'm very excited to see what happens. It was kind of a reset to see what he could do. So
speaking of reset, this movie is just called John Wick, apparently.
Yeah. Is it really?
Yeah, they're doing the Scream 2022. Oh. They're just
the series is so new though.
Jack Reacher, Jason Bourne. Listen, it's just guy's name because it's a guy's movie. It's just a guy's name, Chris.
You want more John Wick? This movie's called John Wick. John Wick is in it. That's all you need, right?
You told us that's what you wanted.
Yeah. You just want John Wick doing stuff. And we're presenting it to you.
John's Wick.
Brian, do you have anything that you want to add to... it's not John Wick Chapter 4, apparently, just John Wick.
Yeah.
It says John Wick Chapter 4 official. This is from IGN's feed that I'm seeing this.
So is it... We'll do some research and get back to you, loyal viewers and listeners.
At least according to IGN, it is John Wick. The trailer that I've been playing in the background for our YouTube watchers, 7.7 million views. People
oh my gosh,
love
of course
Wick.
It does. Yeah, totally.
No, as Christian said, this is some of the most top tier American action choreography that we're getting consistently these days. It's consistently upping its ante to be fair, ridiculous levels, as Christian said. So if you're not in for this, I can understand people thinking this is like a step too far and not able to suspend their disbelief. But because of how awesome these look, this is going to be a world traveling movie. They're going to Japan, Jordan, America, Germany, France, and presumably just going to be destroying a bunch of shit as they throw people through it in all of these places. And yeah, as Christian said, I think there's a lot of really fun lore that they continue to expand and dive deeper into every time. So totally here for the John Wick series.
There's a shot of him with nunchaku.
Oh, yes.
Very cool. Love some
What
nunchucks.
more could you want?
What a silly weapon, but so cool when done right.
But when you master them, effective, right?
Very effective.
No.
Poor reach on the nunchaku. We're going to move out of John Wick and we're going to go into another project that I think Brian is really excited for. Not to speak for you, Brian, but Netflix finally gave us a full trailer for the Sandman, the Neil Gaiman adaptation coming. And it stars Tom Sturridge, Gwendolyn Christie, Boyd Holbrook, Charles Dance, Asim Chaudhry, Sanjeev Bhaskar, Kirby Howell-Baptiste, Mason Alexander Park, Donna Preston, Jenna Coleman of Doctor Who fame, Patton Oswalt, and then today they announced that Mark Hamill will also be joining the cast. Brian, I'm going to hand it to you, man.
Charlie Cox.
And Charlie Cox is Daredevil, crossing boundaries from Marvel to DC into this Neil Gaiman adaptation. Brian, how are you feeling about this trailer, man?
I've been following this news for a while now. Sandman is one of the all-time great comics. It's absolutely unbelievable. Following Dream, who is the master of the dream realm / the dream realm incarnate in some ways. His whole family of the Endless, portrayed brilliantly cast from what I've seen here. Everyone seems to be really smart casting here. This trailer kind of leads into the plot. I think this is going to get into the first 2 or 3 volumes of Sandman. So we see one of the escaped nightmares here. That is a lot of fun and is going to be a big part of this. We also see David Thewlis as Dr. John D, which I think is ridiculously inspired casting. And now that I see him there, I can't picture anyone else doing it. That run is absolutely crazy. So I think everything looks great here. There's at times trying to do imagery from the comics. I think in the teaser we saw some stuff too, but everything looks really solid here. And the fact that Neil Gaiman is so closely involved with this in production, he generally has done a great job adapting his own stuff to the screen. So yeah, the Sandman, everything I've seen looks better and better. And you laid out the cast. This clearly has everyone they need to do well in that regard.
Oh yeah.
What was the one? Mark Hamill is playing Merv Pumpkin, and yeah, what an amazing character! Completely.
I'm assuming it's going to be a voiceover role, right? Like,
yeah, he'll probably largely be CG. Yep.
Sweet. That'll be exciting. So, Brian, you are clearly very excited for the Sandman adaptation, as am I. I'm very interested to hear how Christian's feeling about this coming Sandman adaptation. We did cover Sandman Overture several years ago, so I know you're a little familiar with Sandman, Christian. What are your thoughts here?
I don't have much to say. I think the trailer's pretty good. I like a lot of the cast, as Brian was talking about. I pretty much don't disagree. Love Sandman Overture. Fantastic comic. Probably one of my favorites. I'm not a huge comic book fan. I don't have a ton in my reservoir that I've actually seen, but thoroughly enjoyed. It felt like it really elevated the art form. That being said, Netflix is running this show, so I'm very concerned. I think that it was both better looking than I thought it would be and worse looking, because if you think of the Sandman comic, it's
like a Schrodinger's cat of visual effects,
right? And I'm worried about what happened with Cowboy Bebop, right? Where some of the sets look real bad, and Sandman is just a beautifully illustrated comic. It's very cosmic.
And it's going to be really interesting to see, because in the comic, Dream, because of who he is and what he is, pretty much changes dependent upon who's looking at him. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see if they play with that at all with live action. It's going to be obviously harder to, but yeah, to your point, Christian, hopefully they're able to translate some of that constantly changing textural stuff that doesn't always come through in a live action form.
Yeah, to summate my thoughts, it's just some things get me very excited, but the same things that get me excited get me very worried. They've been working on it for 10 years. I'm very excited about that. I'm also very worried about that. Things don't get stuck in development hell if they're like...
I think a lot of the development hell has had to do with like casting and
sure,
like scripts and directors and stuff like that.
Getting funding, shooting it. Then also David Goyer. That gets me excited. Also gets me really worried. So...
He's made both great and terrible things.
Exactly. Literally everything about this show has me excited and concerned.
But I get it.
We shall see.
I myself am very excited for this adaptation. My hopes are high. I'm hoping that they're able to deliver. Neil Gaiman, as Brian mentioned, is involved with the show, so I don't think he would let anyone destroy his baby. That's my hope, at least. So I am cautiously optimistic in regards to what the show is going to offer, and I hope it really delivers for all the Sandman fans like Brian out there, because this is a really cool comic, and it deserves to be adapted to the best of everyone's capability. So, sticking in the comic book realm, boys, we put off recording this episode so we could get all that juicy MCU goodness, probably to your chagrin.
All that MC juice.
All that MC juice.
Had to hold our MC poo for that MC juice.
Yes. The Marvel Studios panel was tonight as of this recording, and oh my God, they announced so many. Kevin Feige came out on stage and he announced so many amazing things for any MCU fanatic. He told us that MCU Phase 4 is going to conclude with the She-Hulk series on Disney Plus and Wakanda Forever. They dropped a trailer for Wakanda Forever. I was very excited. Well, we can talk about that. But then he was like, you know what? Let's talk about Phase 5. And how about I just give you the entire roadmap and slate for Phase 5? And I'm going to pull up a photo here just so I can read everything that's happening in Phase 5 for you guys. Okay, so we're going to go over the entire roadmap for Phase 5 here.
I have a really grainy photo that I'm going to put up.
Okay, no worries. It's going to kick off with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which gets released on February 17th of 2023. Then we are going to have Secret Invasion, which is coming out. It's going to be a series on Disney Plus in spring of 2023. Following that, we are going to get Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 on May 5th of 2023, followed by the Disney Plus series Echo. Echo was a character that was introduced in the Hawkeye series, which also is going to be starring who?
Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox is Daredevil. You know, I also neglected to mention that She-Hulk got its final trailer as well. Boys, who's in the stinger of the She-Hulk trailer?
Cox.
Charlie Cox is Daredevil.
It's nothing but Cox, baby.
It's Cox
all over the place.
I gotta say, this She-Hulk trailer brought me around. Again, I wasn't super hot.
On being attracted to She-Hulk or what?
No,
Brian, you can admit your true feelings. Join me, Brian. It's fine.
Just seeing Ruffalo here and how prevalent he's going to be in the show, apparently. I didn't realize it was going to be kind of a, not a buddy cop dynamic, but a buddy comedy between these two. I'm completely sold on this show from this trailer. It really looks like it could be a whole lot of fun.
Christian,
Ruffalo,
while we're on the topic.
Ruffalo, that big green buffalo, and Cox. What else do you want?
Spandex.
It's going to be your best friend.
Your best friend.
Loyal listeners, we'll put a link to the She-Hulk trailer in the description as well, so you can go check that out if you haven't already. While we're talking about it, Christian, Has this trailer changed your mind at all about how you feel in regards to the show?
Nope. And that's not like it's worse or better. You know, I was like, it looks fine. It looks like a lot of fine. I think, again, it's a trick, as I had said a few months ago when that trailer debuted, the first one. You know, they haven't done, comedy particularly well. I'm a defender of the fourth Thor movie, which I know a lot of people don't love. And I think that was their first successful full-blown comedy. And I'm alone in that opinion. So they clearly don't do comedy in the same way that they appease general audiences in other ways. So we'll see.
I can see where you're coming from. I think when it comes to it, now that we know where Phase 4 is going to end, and I really do love some of the things that are in Phase 4, but when we look back at Phase 4, I think that is kind of the tagline of it, which is a whole lot of fine. It's a whole lot of fine in Phase 4. Anyway.
I don't know about all that, but
I don't know. We got some big swings, but we certainly got the most divisive phase since the MCU has blown up. Phase 1's kind of tricky to compare it to, but I mean, our memories are jaded by the finale of Avengers Endgame. I am on record on this podcast of saying I'm not a fan of things in Phase 1, 2, and 3. All of the phases have had stinkers, straight stinkers.
Looking back on Phase 2, there were several movies in Phase 2 that not a lot of people like, and also didn't really point us in any type of particular direction in regards to like what's happening with the Infinity Stones and what's happening with Thanos. So I definitely feel as though Phase 4 is like a transitionary phase for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Who's to say? Maybe looking back on it, we will be blinded by some of these other announcements that we'll be talking about.
Charlie Cox's Daredevil.
Yeah. It always comes back to Cox. Anyway,
you betcha.
Moving on with the roadmap for Phase 5. We left off with Echo coming to Disney Plus in summer of 2023. That's going to be followed by Loki Season 2 in the summer of 2023. So summer of 2023 is going to be a busy year. And then we are going to get The Marvels coming to theaters on July 28th of 2023. And then this is a movie that I think a lot of people...
Is that 3 shows and 3 movies in the first half a year?
Correct. That is... 1, 2... Yes. 3 movies and 3 shows in the first half of 2023.
And employing approximately 75% of entertainers, actors, composers, visual effects artists.
Wow.
Who at this stage are like completely fed up with what Marvel is giving them. Yeah. So I do feel bad for the visual effects artists.
The GPUs are burning their hearts out, their little iron hearts out right now.
Speaking of Ironheart,
sorry for continuously interrupting.
No. That's a very valid question. And
I was just kind of like, wow, they're really pumping them out.
One of my problems recently has been, I think there needs to be fewer things to up the quality of a lot of these things, because the more you produce, kind of brings the overall quality down of everything. But Christian says, forget about it.
Forget about it. The kids love the Marvel. Even when they hate it, they love it.
They'll always come back.
They'll gobble
and I did. I did come back tonight, Marvel. I can't quit you. Next up on the docket is, as I said, a movie that I think a lot of people are excited for, and that's Blade, starring Mahershala Ali. I think that's going to be really cool. That's coming out November 3rd of 2023, followed by Ironheart. This is a Disney Plus series coming to the platform in fall of 2023. Oh, man. Following Ironheart, there's going to be another series on Disney Plus, and they've actually changed the title for this. The title at one point was Agatha House of Harkness, and it's now called Agatha Coven of Chaos, which I think is a dope title. I'm kind of super excited about that. That's going to be coming out either winter of 2023 or early 2024 is when it's slated to come out. And then, boys, he's back. Charlie Cox is back, boys.
That'd be crazy if the one announcement for Daredevil was like, and we're bringing in a new Daredevil for this.
Charlie Cox is out. Ben Affleck is back in.
Oh,
the Affleck.
Oh, man. Daredevil Born Again is coming to Disney Plus in spring of 2024.
Amen.
I love the title. Vincent D'Onofrio is coming back as well. We were talking a little bit before we started recording how I think this is a great title, not only because it is a title of a very popular Daredevil run, but word through the grapevine is that Charlie Cox is actually playing a Matt Murdock that isn't the same Matt Murdock from the Netflix shows. He's a variant that exists within the MCU. So he really is, as a character, portraying Matt Murdock, kind of being born again as well. Super stoked about this. Marvel decided that they heard my complaints about the suffocating 6-episode structure, and they said, you know what, Chris Conkling? We hear you. Daredevil Born Again is going to be 18 episodes. Christian's not excited about that.
What? They took David Lynch's Twin Peaks: The Return, and they're like, let's do 18 hours of television here. Just knock it out.
Maybe. And we have no idea if they're going to be hour-long episodes, Brian. They could be half-hour episodes.
Yeah, if they're 20 minutes, they might still come in at like a similar runtime if they do like 20-minute, 15-minute episodes.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It's an insane episode
That's
count.
Like more than any of the Netflix seasons. Netflix is like 12 or 13.
Each Netflix season is, I believe, like 10 to 13.
10. Yeah, I think actually 10.
Yeah. So good on you, Marvel Studios, for hearing some fans' complaints and being like, no, we got you. Hopefully the show doesn't suck.
It's very excited for it. It's going to be interesting to see how they take on the mission trip aspects of it's going to be cool to see.
Oh, man. And then
our Cox is an awesome Cox.
Yes, thank you.
Oh man, I can't wait for the MCU to be all Charlie Cox, just Charlie Cox projects.
Playing everyone.
Phase 5 is going to wrap up with. This is very cool. I'm excited about this one. Captain America: New World Order is coming out. It's going to be a movie coming out on May 3rd, 2024. As we know, Sam Wilson, Anthony Mackie is going to be playing the new Captain America that we saw in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I'm pumped. I'm pumped about that movie as well. In regards to Phase 5 and everything that we've talked about, if you can remember everything that we talked about, because this is a beefy boy, is there any project that you're like, that's the one? Like, I'm really excited to see that particular project. Brian, I'll start with you, or Christian, since it seems like you're.
I was about to say something. So I think for like I think this is reflected. I checked the Twitter stats like right before we recorded, so this could change. But I looked at the different likes, and I know this is very bad. 538 would be very mad that I used this as a sense of audience's reaction, but I think it's relatively good thermometer. The amount of likes and retweets per Marvel Studios official Twitter page, and what got a lot of excitement. You'll never guess what got the least amount of excitement. Anything that had to do with a woman. Anyway.
God.
Ouch.
It's literally
sad but true.
Agatha, not really getting a lot of clicks. Ironheart. Anyway. Also, relatively unknown properties. So Blade obviously is one that people are really stoked about. Mahershala Ali is awesome, and Blade is a cool character, and it's different. It's this supernatural thing that we haven't got a lot of, right? And it's a big part of the Marvel MCU, and it's like not only supernatural. What's the word? It deals with vampires, werewolves, and shit like that. So
yeah,
it's something we haven't tackled. So it's kind of new blood for them to go through. So that's like selfish. I think what I'm most interested to see if it's successful is the Marvels, because this is going to be lots of characters that we're just now introduced to that kind of are going to carry. This seems like a big middle tentpole film that's going to try to like get us excited about old heroes meeting relatively new, like semi-old characters meeting relatively new characters, and that's going to be predominantly female. Like, what's it like? If that's successful, Marvel's got a really bright future. If that duds and people are like MCU and you get a lot of pushback, it's going to be like, it's gotten toxic. It's
Christian,
bad spot. And if
in
it's
regards
bad,
to the Marvels, how would you feel if I told you that a third of the movie could possibly be a musical? How would you feel about that?
I have said this over and over again. Do it all, because you own entertainment, and I don't just want to see Iron Man 1 over and over again. That movie's great. We all love it. I don't need to see it again. do stuff differently. So I think that's great. But I think you're going to stretch what people are like, I just want the dude with big weapon that kills the bad guys.
Right. Of course. You're always going to have those people.
Right. And I think that that's like a base. That's like a Marvel base. So I do think, I'm hoping that people are like, musicals are really cool. Hamilton did it. So, I think there's room for it to work, but it's got to be great. And it's got to be better than, the Marvels has to be 5 times better than Blade for fans to like it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm rooting for them, but I'm also kind of not, because as I've talked about, I'm a little cynical about all this. So if the whole thing falls apart and they can never make what we'll talk about as far as Phase 6 stuff that was announced.
I really hope that doesn't happen.
I kind of would be, I'm happy either way. If it bombs and fails or if it succeeds.
We still have...
I'm just here for the ride.
One of the most interesting things to happen in the industry over the last 15 years, which is the first Infinity Saga. That's a very unique thing that happened in Hollywood.
Avengers was a unique thing. I mean, this is a whole... No one's ever...
So regardless of how all this other stuff does, we still have like that time of filmmaking to be like, wow, what a wacky time in Hollywood.
What a wacky time indeed. Anyway, Brian, your thoughts. What stands out about this Phase 5 roadmap?
So Secret Invasion has always kind of stood out to me as something that is kind of a wild card, and that I've been looking forward to ever since. I guess it is Captain Marvel to some degree, but also the end of the second Spider-Man movie, where it's revealed that Fury is not himself. I feel like they've been kind of laying things out that are going to start paying off and expanding in scope maybe here. And everyone trashes the Ant-Man movies, but seeing the new poster with Kang on it.
Dude, Jonathan Majors. And we might be seeing more of Jonathan Majors with some things we're going to talk about. He's fucking phenomenal in Loki. So I can't wait to see what he does in Ant-Man Quantumania.
And I think that is going to really start showing what Phase 4 has been working towards. I think that movie is going to be a real stepping stone to like the beginning of the end.
And they had just on the Jonathan Majors, he came out in Hall H report, said that he said, yes, I'll be returning and I conquer.
He said there will be conquering.
There will be conquering. Which
they also showed a teaser for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania that wasn't released to the general public. But the last line of the teaser is Kang looking at Paul Rudd as Ant-Man and going, "Are you one of the Avengers that I've killed before?" Which, that's dope.
Yikes.
He goes,
that's really cool.
I fucking hate This Is 40. I like This Is 40 for the record. I think it's an underrated movie. Anyway,
Brian, continue. Sorry, we went off on a bit of a digression.
No, you guys touched on Blade already. Ever since hearing Mahershala Ali was cast in that, I'm super hyped. We got his voice at the end of what was it at the end of Eternals?
Off screen.
A movie that had nothing to do with Blade.
Nothing at all to do with Blade, but may come around with characters. I got to imagine there might be some tie in there. That's up there for me. And I say that's Captain America: New World Order. Falcon and Winter Soldier was solid. I'm interested to see where they take Sam Wilson from here. Now that he has officially picked up the mantle. Looking forward to that as well. And all the series, like something like Ironheart, after Miss Marvel, I think they can really do this young person coming of age story over the course of six episodes. Miss Marvel did a great job, made me much more excited about the Marvels than I was previously, and also kind of making a new Iron Man, getting back into that. Christian, I know it's probably going to be at some point a CGI fest. Hopefully they maybe because she's up and coming, maybe it'll be a little more physical. But
what's interesting about the Ironheart series is that that's not going to be the first time we're introduced to Riri Williams. She's going to be in Wakanda Forever first. So they're going to be doing a little bit of, the Chadwick Boseman Black Panther thing, introducing him first in Civil War and then giving him his own solo project. We're going to be getting her first in another movie. So people should be very familiar with Riri once we get to that Disney Plus series, which will be nice.
Which has been their MO with their series. Their series are usually this is Moon Knight and Miss Marvel are exceptions, but generally we're guided in with other characters that we know. That's a kind of a safe way they can play it.
So that is going to do it for the roadmap of Phase 5. And if you think that's it, then you would be very wrong, because Kevin Feige was like, hold my beer. Here's part of Phase 6. And he went and announced, let me pull up the graphic here. He went ahead and announced a portion of Phase 6, starting a portion of Phase 6, starting with Fantastic Four. Brian, pun intended. Fantastic Four will be coming out on November 8th of 2024. We still don't know who's going to be playing the Fantastic Four. We don't know who's going to be directing Fantastic Four. Rumors we might be seeing one of the members of the Fantastic Four in She-Hulk, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. We did see a member of the Fantastic Four in an alternate universe. We don't know if John Krasinski is going to be coming back to reprise Reed Richards in the actual movie, though, for the 616 universe.
Cool logo. I think this is my favorite kind of announcement, where they're just like, fucking logo.
Look at this graphic.
And just imagine how great it's going to be after.
It's going to be sick.
The Ironheart.
You can see the ideas embedded within it.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of does look like
I get the whole plot. I get the whole plot from the graphic.
We got an eclipse. The number 4 seems to be significant. If you turn the 4 on its side, it's almost like Black Widow's emblem. Wait a second.
Unlocked.
Invisible Girl is in the logo. I'll put the graphic.
She's right in the middle of it.
Right there. She's beautiful.
Wow.
Reed is if you look closely, you can actually see that Reed is stretching himself to form the 4 in the graphic.
This is good content.
That's true.
This is why we're on YouTube now. Really.
So
can we make sure we label this like big Marvel secrets exposed and revealed?
Will do.
All caps.
I'll be sure to do that. We got to feed the algorithm. Speaking of the algorithm, if you're still with us, please subscribe and like the video. That way you don't miss any of our future content. There, I did the thing. But Kevin Feige wasn't like, you know what? We've already told you about Fantastic Four. Like, that's boring. You know, we'll give you some more details maybe during D23. But like, what you guys? I hear you guys like Avengers, right? Like, you want more Avengers. Yeah, that's what I've been hearing.
Fucking like portals.
You guys like people coming out of portals? What about multiversal portals? Because he announced 2 Avengers films. Avengers Kang Dynasty coming out on May 2nd of 2025. Wow, we're really far out at this point. And Avengers Secret Wars coming out on November 7th of 2025. That is 2 Avengers movies in 1 year. They are going to be doing the 2-parter again. The 1-2 punch of Infinity War and Endgame. We're going to be getting it with Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. And, you know, a lot of people within the MCU fan community were speculating that Secret Wars was going to be where all of this multiversal stuff is leading. They have now dubbed this portion, Phase 4, 5, and 6 of the MCU, as the Multiverse Saga. How do you guys feel about these 3 announcements? There's very little information to go off of. Does it spark anything within you at all?
I think it's showing people that there's always been a plan for this stuff, right? Like, I've heard a lot of people say that the MCU is directionless right now.
Myself included.
Right. And something like seeing we're getting Fantastic Four right before this makes perfect sense with the Multiverse of Madness introducing us to that character, him being there. Obviously, Loki and Loki Season 2 presumably are going to get us more into Kang. We got Quantum Mania happening, building that up as well. I think that the puzzle pieces are really going to start clicking. Secret Invasion as well. And will maybe show that even from further back than people are thinking, there has been kind of a guiding force here that is going to come to the conclusion with, I mean, this sort of event, 2 giant movies in 1 year, just for the pop cultural significance of that. That's going to be so much fun. And I'm looking forward to it, even if it doesn't reach the heights of Infinity War and Endgame. The fact they're going for something like this big again in 2025, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and people fail to realize from when Thanos was teased proper
in Avengers,
that was
2012?
6 years?
Yeah, 2012.
Until we got Thanos in a movie.
In Infinity War.
Yeah. So they're doing pretty good. And that plan will kind of line up with like a 5-year, 6-year plan. So it's good to know that they've, which I always thought they did. When people were freaking about time, I was like, the first movie Iron Man came out in like 2007, 2008, right?
2008.
Yeah, 2008, and we didn't get Avengers until 4 years later. So I think these movies take time. There's already render farms for the CG that are
shut. Chris has seen the previs.
Those poor overworked artists and computers.
GPUs, yeah, they're hard at work. So it's cool. We got a long way to get there, and I will tell everybody, and I don't think this is likely, but it is possible that like these movies start doing poorly, and this doesn't get made, and I think people take that for granted.
It's happened with other studios, with Warner Brothers in particular. Like they've announced a huge slate of things that just never happen.
Yeah, Marvel's
never done that outside of one film, Inhumans, and I think a lot of that has to do with the conflict between Ike Perlmutter and Kevin Feige at the time. But that's like neither here nor there.
Yeah, Feige's got a lot of goodwill, but I will tell you, it only takes 3 movies that lose Disney a metric butt ton of money.
Yeah.
That can drastically alter this. But that like we've said, it's proven that they've accomplished this kind of dream before, and they've got a lot of money, and they have all of the actors, and they got Charlie Cox. He was the only actor that
everywhere.
Was confirmed.
He's going.
Secret Wars.
Charlie Cox is the new Iron Man. He's going to lead the Avengers. Oh man, what a crazy world we live in, gentlemen. I have to backtrack a little bit. I'm sorry. I actually neglected to mention that Phase 5 is going to be ending with the Thunderbolts movie. In 2024, and this isn't a joke. That's actually a thing that's happening.
Can I say that I collectively, with like 99% probably, if people were like, the fuck is the Thunderbolts?
The Thunderbolts are a collective of villains put together by Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, who unfortunately, the actor who portrayed him in the MCU, is now deceased, so he probably won't be in the film.
One of the earliest canonized same actors, because he was in the whole.
Yeah, William Hurt, rest in peace. He had a great career. So that will be wrapping Phase 5, and it's going to kind of be like a villainous Avengers movie, to be perfectly honest. So we're still kind of getting an Avengers movie at the end of a phase. It's just not the hero Avengers that we're used to. So I'm interested to see what they do here. What was that? I'm sorry.
Anti-hero, Suicide Squad type vibe, probably.
Yeah. The main difference between Thunderbolts and the Suicide Squad is they aren't forced to go on missions to get their sentences reduced. They choose to go on missions. So
to get their sentences reduced?
Yeah, the Suicide Squad gets time off their sentences.
I know, but the Thunderbolts are doing... Never mind. Forget. I thought you're like, the only difference is they're not forced to do it. But they still
they're not
their sentence.
Not convicts.
They're not convicts.
Right, exactly. They're not convicts.
I figured. Language is hard.
Sorry.
It's me for being too picky.
Gentlemen, that's going to do it. Well, you know what? I might as well. And one more thing. We talked about Wakanda Forever earlier. They released the Wakanda Forever trailer. They announced that Tenoch Huerta is going to be playing Namor in the film. They brought him out on stage along with the rest of the cast. Real quickly,
I'm done with Star Wars.
How did you guys feel about the Wakanda Forever trailer?
I thought this trailer looked great. The music was really awesome. They did a cover of Bob Marley's No Woman, No Cry mixed in with All Right by Kendrick Lamar, which I thought was a really cool mix. Visually looked really, really solid. I appreciate that they're bringing in apparently the Atlanteans, like you said, introducing this element. immediately thought of the Na'vi in Avatar when I saw it and texted you guys about it because I didn't realize the Namor reveal. But yeah, this is one we've talked a good deal about already. Definitely looking forward to Wakanda Forever.
Christian, thoughts?
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about directors being like let off the reins a little bit. And
that's phase 4, baby.
And I'm watching this trailer, and it doesn't look a lot like a Marvel movie. It looks similar to like Eternals vibe, like Tree of Life style. Like there are some really very like, is this going to be partially a meditation on stuff? I don't think it's going to be full blown that, but I think that with the circumstances, Black Panther is the most successful solo picture of all time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
And this budget looks good. Like this, at least on a computer screen. It's different when you blow up these effects to full like theater screen. But at least on this, they look Infinity War, Endgame quality visual effects. And clearly to end the phase. That's important.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't look like it. There's parts of it that look like a Marvel movie, but it almost looks a little DC. It's almost got this tonality, this color palette.
Yeah, like an ethereal kind of color palette to it.
And your main character is not here anymore.
Someone was in the suit. I will say.
Yeah, Chris knows. If I were to guess, I'd say it's just the bad guy from the last. He's like good.
Killmonger.
It's Killmonger because he's a great actor, and
it's not Killmonger.
Are you sure? I've been on the Reddit forums.
I'm pretty sure.
It seems like that would be the God. I mean, this is why I'm not in charge. I'm probably not as good as Ryan Coogler, but I feel
Killmonger died in the first movie, dude.
It's the fucking MCU multiverse.
That was
Nobody
just
dies for
one
good.
version of Killmonger. Chris.
Bring in a Killmonger variant.
I mean, the fact that you even said like they couldn't do that because he died is the most dumb thing you've ever said in our podcast. I believe that they will.
Ouch.
But
I'll take it. As
far as like Marvel logic,
how many times has Loki died at this point?
A lot, and he's got another season of television coming out. But they won't go that route, right? They'll do something different. But if that was my choice, I would be like, let's take the like person that actually people. We all love Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa. We honored him with a whole month. Wish he was around to make this movie. Wish he's around for lots of other reasons too.
Of course.
But let's be honest. After that film, people were talking about Killmonger.
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan. Yeah, I was like, he's a very well-known actor. Why can't I remember his name? Michael B. Jordan's performance was what stole that show, right? So it seemed like that would have been the move to somehow logically get him there. But probably not what we're going to see. But looks like, I don't get so stoked for these Marvel trailers. This trailer looks incredible. It
does. And, you know, it makes me really excited about the movie. Because what I know about the plot of the movie, it's not going to be as ethereal and meditative as you think it might be, Christian.
No,
I think it is going to be more straightforward. But if you combine that with, you know, Ryan Coogler's visual sensibilities, he's clearly trying to pay homage to Chadwick Boseman and make the sequel the best sequel that it can possibly be. We're going to get a lot of interesting visuals with the Atlanteans. I say Atlanteans. I believe that they're actually going to be changing Namor's origin in this film and making him either Aztec or Mayan. So Atlantis will be akin to like El Dorado, from what I've heard. Really interested to see how they handle that.
Probably
you can see some of the imagery.
Conflate it with Aquaman, right? That's probably the
right. That's the main reason they had to change it somehow, so it wasn't just going to be perceived as a Marvel Aquaman, even though Namor came first. But yeah, I'm very excited about this movie, and I'm interested to see who they put in the Black Panther suit. It'll be fun to see that on the screen.
Don't you pretend for the audience here. No, we all know.
I'm excited to see this
when
movie.
Someone said, "Are you can't be interested. You're not interested in seeing a Black Panther movie without Chadwick Boseman." I said, "Nay, more Black Panther."
Oh no!
I said, "Nay, more."
I heard you.
I said,
heard you. I said, "Nay, more. Nay, more. Nay, more. Namor's in this movie. For those that didn't catch up.
I couldn't Gentlemen, when I saw the first images, really quick, I'm trying to catch up on The Boys. I'm on season 2. And the fish character in that show is so ludicrous and hilarious. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but any Aqua-based character, I just see The Boys character, and it takes me out of it a little bit, so hopefully it's not a problem how good The Boys has been. Anyway, Chris, please wrap up this.
Gentlemen, that's going to do it for Chris's chaotic Comic-Con coverage 2022. We did it.
I
think it's perfect, and I want it to be my ringtone.
I'm like listening to it, and I'm like, yeah, this is clearly something that was made very quickly. So thanks, listeners, for that. Amazing. We're going to be wrapping up our weekly upload, but stay tuned. We are still wrapping up our Taika Waititi month on Wednesday, so check out that. We do main episodes. The way the show normally works is weekly upload, all the things that are like quick hits for what we've been consuming in the news, as well as what we've been consuming, and we have community feedback. You can reach out to us at Pop-O-Holicscast@gmail.com. Leave us a review. You get featured on the episode, so I'd love to see you there on the YouTube or the audio feed, depending on where you found us. That'd be very exciting. And then for our main topic episodes, those are usually on Wednesdays, and we cover the current things coming out. We devoted a whole month this month, July. Hey there, Jalila, what's it like in Taika Waititi? We don't have time, Chris, but we'll pay it off next time.
Hey there, Jalila, what's it like in Taika Waititi? Got it in, snuck it in.
Still like hearing it. So we're wrapping that up with Hunt for the Wilder People, one of his most critically acclaimed movies. And then the month after next month, we got Dan Trachtenberg coming out with a movie I'm very excited about, Prey, which is in the Predator anthology. We're going to be covering some of the biggest Predator movies, which is going to be, oh man, what a bumpy ride that's going to be. Highs and...
Will it be Jurassic June all over again?
I think the Predator movies are overall... There's no movie that's as good as Jurassic Park.
Definitely not.
But if we equate out all of the Predator movies, I don't know. It's
better on average.
It might. It's pretty competitive. But we'll get into that, all that and more. Gentlemen, where can people find more of your work on the internet?
Loyal viewers and listeners, you can find me on Twitter at Chris Conkling, talking about all things nerdy, comic books, television, movies, video games, collectibles. If it's nerdy, I'm talking about it. And then you can find my nerdy ramblings on a monthly basis over on carefulforspoilers.com.
And you can find me on Twitter at True Pop-O-Holic.
And you can find my band at Midnight Satire on all the social medias or on your favorite music streamer of choice to actually listen to the music. It's all there. New album, Augmented Reality EP. It's a 5-track technically. And there's a music video. Follow the YouTube there. It's all cool stuff that you should check out. Again, email us at popoholicscast@gmail.com. In the YouTube comments or via email, what are you most excited about from Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con 2022. We'd love to hear from you, and any opinions that you have on any of the stuff we covered, we'd love to hear from you. What do you think about Charlie Cox? Really, I just want only Cox in my inbox. You know what I mean? That's going to do it for this episode.
And the Pop-O-Holics email was never the same.
I'm done with Star Wars. I'm done with fucking Obi-Wan. I'm done with fucking Star Wars. I don't hate the fucking Marvel Star Wars that I'm fucking done. I'm done with that. I don't want to watch no baby fucking Leia. I don't want to watch no baby Luke. I don't want to watch no baby Yoda. Enough with the babies. What is it with these Hollywood fuckers, dude? Put the kids to sleep and give me adult Star Wars. You went the wrong direction. I mean, baby Yoda is fucking 50 years old, dude, but still, you know?